Late General Sani Abacha was head of state of Nigeria from 1993 until his death in 1998. He seized power on 17 November 1993 in the last successful coup d'etat in the military history of Nigeria. Abacha became the first Nigerian army officer to attain the rank of a full military general without skipping a single rank. As a dictator, he had a firm grip on Nigeria, running the country as a personal fiefdom. Some economic feats were recorded during his rule. His rule was also characterized by human rights abuses as well as political assassinations. He was also named a kleptocrat who helped himself to much of Nigeria's money, which were hidden away in different foreign accounts. 24 years after his death, loots from the coffers of Nigerian governments by late General Sani Abacha are still being recovered and returned. So far in 24 years, $3.65 billion of Abacha loot have been recovered by the federal government of Nigeria in 11 tranches, with the 11th recovery yet to be returned by the US. However, 10 of the recovered loots already received by Nigerian governments are alleged to have been relooted by successive governments after the regime of late Sani Abacha. Having a history of misappropriation of recovered loot in the past does quite present a problem of trust for the Nigerian government. But what would Nigerians wish for concerning the $23 million recovered Abacha loot, which the US plans to return? Viewpoint intends to find out. I am Blessing Eichi.
It is a good one. However, because Nigeria has played itself into this box of another country determining what you do with your resources, it is very unfortunate. For example, we just heard that the US government signed an agreement with the Nigerian government on how the fund will be used. That is, to me, it's an aberration. If it is true that it is our fund, give it to us. We know what to do with it. But they don't trust us. Now government is rolling out series of plans of what they intend to do with it. The question is, did we not have plans for all of this? We are talking of Second Niger Bridge. This has been the budget recurrently. It's been coming over and over. And now money is coming. You say, oh, you want to divert it there. The one that came last was used for school feeding. Even in 2020 where there were no schools and nobody is asking. One minister is telling us that they use 18 billion to cut grass. How are we sure that this fund, I think 23.4 million US dollars, and that is over 10 billion naira. So when you look at what has happened in the past, you can juxtapose it with what can possibly happen. Because there have been no accountability and we do not know how much money has come altogether, we do not know where the money has been spent, and we don't also know, we are not sure of if it will be well spent, judiciously spent, if it will not be relooted. That is the fear and the concerns of many Nigerians. Now that it has come back, government can use it to settle all of its problems, depending on the fact that it will be prioritized. We want to see how much they will use and how much they will allocate.
It's a cheerful thing to be glad about. We really want the money to be funded. The money is ours. It belongs to the people of Nigeria. But our worry is that it should be channeled to something that can affect the lives of the generality of the people. I think if that money is converted, I think we'll be able to settle the issue of issues that should take our children back to classes. We say there's no money. I'm sure most of the projects that we are involved in, government is putting their hands into. Putting it together is more than assuaging the complaint or the demand of ASU members. I believe that the money should be returned, and when returned, it should be judiciously channeled, and the best way it should be channeled under this present circumstance is to get our children back to school. We can settle ASU and let that issue be settled once and for all.
I want the US to keep the money. Now that they are willing to release the fund, let them tell those people or award any contract with the money. Merely say what have been looted from this country is something hex. Had it been happened in other nations, Nigeria would have been, the country would have collapsed, if I may say. But that Abacha loot we are talking about, I would have preferred that the people in the helms of our affair use the money judiciously, especially in the area of road construction. And they will name the road after Abacha. That is for me. Maybe, for example, like the west or this our side, we don't have like Aonchi road now. From Aonchi to Abuja or to, it's a very bad road. And people fly through the road every day to Abuja, to Lagos. So they should use use the money to construct one of these major roads, realize the road, name it after Abacha, so that we will remember the people that have looted Nigeria fund. So that whenever the driver is passing there, okay, this money was used for this particular road. I would prefer the government to use it for this Aonchi road, this Aonchi Benin road. Any other road, the Niger Bridge, let them forget about Niger Bridge first. The other road, even the Niger people from the east pass through the same road.
The Abacha loot, we have not seen the serious effect the way it ought to be. What I mean is that when you look at the amount that has been released and the infrastructure and the impact of the release of this loot, I can say categorically that the looted fund is being relooted from the back door. And if I'm to advise the federal government by the virtue of what is coming in now, I will encourage the federal government to channel that money to ASU. That is the best way to go, because we cannot have our children seated at home and we abandon education as an infrastructure on its own. If we decided not to deal with education, we are already building up the army of illiterates who are going to deal with whatever infrastructure we are putting in place now. Let's talk about the second Niger bridge. Only one bomb is going to bring the bridge down from somebody that is uneducated illiterate that is become a nuisance to the community. So I feel that the money that is released now, the federal government should channel it to ASU and let our children return to school, because there is no development you can have as a nation without your educational sector being put in place. Whatever we call infrastructure are temporary, because the infrastructure deficit in education is so bogus, and the federal government should channel it. Will help us to be able to know that the masses themselves can audit the money that is called the Abacha loot. If it is channeled to ASU problem, we will know how much is given to ASU, we will know how much is remaining, and what to do with whatever is remaining should be the concern of the masses. But ASU strike should be sorted out by the federal government and let our children return to school, so that will be the best thing we can use to remember Abacha even in grave.
Abacha's loot that is being returned should be used judiciously for national experiences and experiments, viable and visible concrete terms for all Nigerians. Alternatively, these loots that are being returned should be spread to all the 36 states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory. The state governors representing the people, representing the masses, will then use them monumentally for tangible projects to be visible. Because when the federal government uses the money as it were, the likelihood of concentrating it maybe in Abuja or at worst Lagos, the other Nigerians in all the other states of the Federation will not feel it. So what touches all should be approved by all. So it should be spread all over the country for us to see. Videlus, ex credulus. To see is to believe. This is when people see what the projects have been usually used for, before they can be convinced that the returned loot. After all, it took much of diplomatic and international relations to get the looted funds returned to Nigeria. So the usage should be visible for all to see. But meanwhile, we are just speculating that some other former heads of states and presidents may have equally looted Nigeria's money and start them abroad. The only premier facie case that has been established among the very few is that of Abacha. And the receiving states agreed to refund this. So many processes of international relations and diplomacy, international monetary system, they are all involved.
Besides having doubts about the judicious use of the recovered loot, those we spoke with disagree on what the money should be spent on. Although the federal government, in its agreement with the U.S., itemized projects to embark upon with the money, it seems like transparency will matter now than ever, because this may not be the last recovered Abacha loot, as it has become an almost annual event like the arrival of Santa Claus. I am Blessing Aichi.